Theodore Helvevere here with you, aka Big Teddy, and welcome back to the More Than Just Surviving Life podcast. So today, what we're going to talk about is leadership. We're talking about leadership. We're talking about taking charge and clearing and paving a path to the future, not just for you, but for people around you that trust in you. So when we talk about leadership, we need to talk about what being an actual leader is, right? So I never use the term boss. I always use the term leader, right? A boss is someone that tells you what to do. A leader is someone that shows you what to do. One of the number one key traits of a leader creates other leaders. To have people whose direction they can trust in, people that can have and be a part of independent action and make all the parts work together properly. Being a leader is knowing not just how to take charge and make sure a group is running smoothly, it's also learning and understanding how to be a working, active part of that group that contributes to the process in a healthy manner. And so something I always like to talk to people about and teach people about is the leadership contradiction. The leadership contradiction is something I wish more people would use in parenting, and some people do. And the leadership contradiction is this, right? When you choose to be a leader and when you choose to be a good leader, nothing can ever be about you, but everything is your fault. Okay? I'm going to say that again. Nothing can ever be about you, but everything is your fault. And this is why. Being a leader, a true leader, is to be a servant to those that have trusted in you, a servant to the people that need you, and the people that trust you with their lives, and the people that devote themselves to making sure your choices, your actions happen. The people that are pretty much the hands, the feet, they are the cogs to the clock. Being the brain doesn't work. It doesn't matter if you don't have hands to put everything together. And so there comes a level of trust and respect that has to go up and down in both directions. You for them and them for you. Okay? So when you take on this role as a leader, the needs of your people and your operation, your organization, your family have to be at the forefront of your mind. So, and a lot of people only think of one of these things, right? A lot of people, even if they're decent leaders, let's say we're just talking about in terms of parenting, in terms of being a family, they think about how smoothly is everything running? How well is everyone getting things done? Are my needs being met, right? They don't necessarily think about the happiness or the functionality of the different parts of their household or their family. So very rarely do parents think, once their kids reach a certain age, are my kids happy? Are they doing anything with themselves? Are they going to be anything? Are they going to work? Are they helping me with the bills? Right? But if you're not thinking about mental health, which is something we talk about on a regular basis, are my kids stressed? Are my kids depressed? Are they going through things they don't feel comfortable talking to me about? Because communication is a major part of being a good leader also. And the people that you lead and the people who follow you have to feel comfortable and safe speaking to you. Because if they don't, then you don't know what's going on around you and your environment starts to deteriorate. Things go downhill. You cannot build a solid operation without trust and communication. It doesn't matter if it's a marriage. It doesn't matter if it's a family. It doesn't matter if it's a business, right? So you have to always be thinking about the needs of the people who you look after, and if they're being met, and this is physically, emotionally, spiritually, to an extent, especially when your leadership starts to go in a bigger process. And that's why if you look at corporations and the directions that corporations have gone in, they are such devotion these days to making sure there's a healthy, happy work environment. When I worked for a law firm in Portland, Oregon, there were weekly to bi-weekly events to help everyone de-stress and have a good time and just mix and communicate with their co-workers more, and to make sure there was, good energy in the office. There was a room where you could go and step aside and take 15 minutes to do yoga or to do Pilates or just sit down in a comfortable chair and get rid of some of the stress. And it was a very quality environment that cared a lot about mental health. You're having a super stressful session, all right, you can work from home today. Even in Australia, from my last company in Australia, okay, it was an environment where you could communicate with every level of management, from your floor managers to your district manager to the head of the region, who were all approachable at different points in time. And depending on your issue, even though you shouldn't skip over the food chain, sometimes you can skip over the food chain to talk about, and that's very important. Having a level of trust in the people that you work for and knowing that they respect you enough for you to be able to sit down and talk to them is a very big thing. Because it doesn't matter if it's a company, again, or a parent or a spouse. Sometimes it's very evident and very easy to tell when a person doesn't respect your opinion and they don't want to hear from you. They just want you to do what you're told. You can't grow in that environment, and it is going to break down over time and turn into something ugly. And as a leader, these are things that we have to think about. You have to care about the needs of the people that trust in you. The happier they are, the better everyone works together, the smoother communication flows, the greater your capabilities, the more you're able to get done and reach and achieve together. Something that really hit me in terms of leadership and metaphors was the Book of 5 Rings, okay? And until I read the Book of 5 Rings, I had lived with a lot of these principles and ideals and beliefs all my life, but I just never had any titles or words to put on them. I didn't think about them in that capacity. And the Book of 5 Rings blew me away because I was like, I do this already. Right? And the Book of 5 Rings is kind of back into that leadership contradiction again, right? And it explains that a leader is effectively a master carpenter. And what this means is if a carpenter has an entire crew or an entire team to build a house and the house comes out shit, it's on the master carpenter. If you have a guy that's really good and making windows, and he makes all your windows, and you say, okay, go do doors. And you have a door guy who says, I'm not so great at windows, and you make him go do windows, and then your house has shit windows and shit doors. That's your fault as a leader. You have to trust in people to know their limits, even when you believe in them to grow. So if a person tells you I can't do something, and it's a crucial deadline or a crucial project or something that's really important, and then they fail and you blow up at them, the only person that's at fault is you. If you have a person that's magnificent at windows and they want to go on to doing stained glass and you give them the space and the opportunity to do that, that's good leadership. It's about recognizing the talent in people and cultivating that, opposed to trying to force everyone to fit a certain mold. Something we talked about already, something we talked about in Keys, something we'll continue to talk about, is that there's no one answer that's right for everyone. And that is not just true for ourselves. That, again, comes down to good leadership. Knowing where you can and cannot put people. Knowing what molds they fit and how to not force them into things that are wrong for them. Because I'm going to tell you myself, as a leader, I know my failures very well. And if I don't know, and if I'm not able to identify my failures, then I can't help other people. I can't be there for other people, and I can't trust them when they tell me, hey, you're doing this and I don't really enjoy this. Because if I don't know my faults, I'm going to think, oh, they're just being stupid, they're being weak. Like, this is not a problem. They need to learn to deal with it. No, it's not the case. You cannot have good, healthy communication if you can't Trust the people around you to be honest with you. And that's unilateral. That goes both ways. That's for the leader, and that's for the people that have chosen to follow, the people that have chosen to trust in the leadership. And for you, that's being able to say in a way that doesn't hurt anybody, you're not really performing like I need you to here. Is there something I can help you with? What are you lacking? And for them, it's being able to say, you're a really great boss, you're super understanding, but it's hard for me to find you when I need you. You're a really great boss, you're super understanding, but sometimes when you're upset, you kind of scream at us. These are things to be aware of. Some environments that work, some environments this is really not acceptable. And it's about knowing your environment, knowing your situation. Something that doesn't happen in parenting enough. Again, in parenting is one of the main and first forms of leadership. And I always talk about, when it comes to being a leader, the two most important jobs in the world are being a parent and being a teacher. And they're two of the scariest jobs in the world too, because they are the two main jobs where your best isn't always good enough. Doesn't matter how hard you try sometimes, when you give your all at being either of these things, you can be doing it wrong. And the scary thing about the impact of both of these jobs is that they affect the future, and they affect it forever. The feelings, the ideals, and the things that you teach and inspire children stay with them for the rest of their lives. They become a part of the major development of who they are, and they become a part of who they choose to be and who their children will be. You have a global impact every day if you are a teacher or a parent, whether you realize it or not. It's so good leadership when you are the parent or the head of a household has to become something that you think about every day, in an aspect of, how am I influencing the people around me? How are my actions and my words affecting them and what they see from me? And, because good leadership is not just what we say, it's in what we do. Something that I discuss on a regular basis also is how do as I say and not as I do is something that needs to die with our generation. And I'm very passionate about that, because it's something that I truly hate about our parents' generation. That do as I say and not as I do mindset is really unacceptable. And so you have to think about, and you have to start projecting into your choices, into your actions, into your motivations. Where am I taking the people who trust in me? Where am I leading myself? Where does this need to go? What are we representing? It's that bigger picture perspective that separates leaders from other people as well. It's about being able to see more than 5 minutes in front of your face. And this is something not everybody is really capable of. But if you want to be a leader, it has to be something that you think about. And there are different levels of leaders for different situations. Knowing your limitations is a part of that as well. So I really focus on knowing my limitations and knowing the limitations of others. And the way that plays out in the form of leadership is, I know I can't do this. I'm not good with this, but this person on my team is a hitter and they can perform this task every time. So I can trust this person to make sure this gets done rather than stressing myself out about something that isn't exactly my cup of tea. That's good leadership. What do you have to contribute? How does that work well with the people you're building with? How are you keeping it all together? How are you keeping it flowing? So the key points that we're hitting again in terms of good leadership: responsibility. Responsibility for yourself and others, and understanding your responsibility to them. Communication. Making sure that you have a safe, active, healthy environment where you and the people that are following you can trust in each other and talk back and forth about things that are going on, things need to be worked on, and how you progress and improve. Creating and establishing healthy environments around you. The things that come from being a leader, and the reason people come to you, whether you be a charismatic leader or an analytical leader or any other type, it comes from a belief in the confidence and the safety and the structure that you provide for the people around you. And this is why part of the mindset that you have to be aware of is what is the environment that I create for people? How do I make people feel in my presence? What am I giving to them to ensure that they can have confidence and safety in this relationship, in this bond that we've built? And that's something, again, it doesn't matter if you're a parent, it doesn't matter if you're a teacher, it doesn't matter if you're working in office, these things apply. Student council is all the same game, it's all the same deal. What confidence do you instill in the people around you? What skills do you provide and bring to the table? How can you help cultivate those in others and bring out the best in them? Something I watched recently was Hidden Figures, and it was a really dope movie, and I really enjoyed it. And the part of Hidden Figures, there's so much of the movie that applies to this conversation, is the main boss of the entire facility is talking to the head of the engineers and the scientists, and he says to him, do you know what your job is? He says, your job is to find the true geniuses among all of those geniuses out there and cultivate them, help them to be better and help them to be their best. And this is something that's so dangerous about leadership and about parenting and about teaching that we have to watch for in ourselves and that we have to watch for and check in others. Something that can happen very easily on a subconscious level is for people who gain power, who gain leadership, who gain control over others and start to enjoy that too much. And then they start to mismanage that power, that control. And a negative aspect of that can be very hurtful, especially in terms of parenting in children and teaching in children, is adults who are resentful of talents in younger people. And this happens with anywhere from 5-year-olds to college students. Just because a person doesn't know how to put a name on something doesn't mean it's not what they're doing. There was a conversation that happened recently with one of the main talk hosts from the Young Turks. And he said, you know what the problem is when it comes to Generation Xers and baby boomers and millennials? Generation Xers and baby boomers are jealous. Your parents are jealous. When they were young, you had to go to a library and get books, and information was much harder to come by, so they're much less informed. You guys are working more hours, you're more informed, you understand more, you're more passionate, and they're jealous, and it upsets them. And so this translates into them, you're always on your phone. And them putting that in a really negative aspect. And what are you doing? Yeah, because all this information is all accessible on my phone. And this is a symptom, this is an aspect of older generations seeing talent, seeing growth, and seeing progress in younger generations. And in most cases, instead of being like, I'm proud of that, that's awesome, that's amazing, this is what I've strived for, it turns into jealousy from a mindset of how dare you have less than I had or more than I had and do better with it, and why are you thinking for yourself? It's so funny. You don't understand how stifling these things that seem innocent become really toxic. And again, these are things that we need to watch for, not just in leadership in ourselves and prevent them from happening, but in others. Because it's very easy to go from a place where I don't really want my kid to be independent. I like them needing me and depending on me, to squashing independence in your children and making them dependent on you, and then hating the person that you created. And what happens when you're not here? What happens when your parents have funneled you in a certain direction your entire life, and then they're not here, and your life was never yours, and you never made any choices for you, and now you don't know what you're doing with it? And there are a lot of people that went from that into having kids, and they're emulating what their parents did now, and it doesn't help anything. To recap, we need to know the difference between being a leader and being a boss in our everyday aspects of life. And being a leader, do you want to be a good one, or do you want to just be a leader? Do you just want power over people, or do you want to help? Do you want to heal? Do you want to change? Do you want to have a real lasting impact on the world even if it's just at a local level. And if not, you probably shouldn't be a parent. But if you are a parent, if you are a teacher, or if you're just someone looking to make things better or help people that you care about, then these are things that we need to talk about. And these are things that we are going to keep focusing on. And this is a journey that we will continue to take together. Thank you for listening in, everybody. I really appreciate you stopping by. This is the More Than Just Surviving Life podcast, and I'll be back with you guys soon. I look forward to speaking with you next time. Bless up.